Hi, I think we need to talk. So this idea to go iPad only started off for me as an experiment more than anything else. I've been a Mac user for the last 10 years and I've also dabbled with iPads on the side when it comes to content consumption and using it as a recreation device, but I never really used an iPad for work. But I've always been in love with iPads because of the form factor and how easy they are to use. They're just bigger versions of your iPhone, and that's how they were marketed by Apple originally when the first iPad came out. So until last year, every time I joined a ship, I was somebody who carried a Mac for work and an iPad for content consumption. And along with all the additional gear that I actually carried with me when I was joining a ship, this became extremely cumbersome. Like my backpack got super heavy. It didn't really matter whether I was going on board to work or I was just going out to travel for fun. Carrying an iPad and a Mac and my camera gear and my Nintendo Switch and my headphones, all of it together got really, really difficult, and it really made my life a lot more cumbersome than it needed to be. To my surprise, that's exactly when it happened. Apple dropped the M2 chip into the iPad Pro, and there was also DaVinci Resolve that launched alongside it, which was a full-blown professional video editing software that had now dropped onto the iPad. And this really got me thinking. The M2 chip, along with DaVinci Resolve, really put the iPad into a slightly serious position when it came down to video editors. The iPad was always used by people who were into artwork or into graphic designing, who were into photo editing, but video editors are people in particular who really struggle with the iPad. But DaVinci Resolve and the power of M2 kind of changed things for us. Like I said, the iPad for me was always my main content consumption device. It worked perfectly because I can download movies, TV shows onto the apps like Netflix and Apple TV and just carry them on board. It's also a great reading device. That's something that I always use. Like I always use the iPad to read my Kindle ebooks, and it pretty much killed the need for me to have a physical Kindle because I could just have the Kindle app on the iPad and use that, which was perfect. Pretty much came down to a point where I was literally just using the iPad for all my needs, for backing up footage, for connecting to my hard drives, for extracting information, for transferring stuff to a pen drive, for content consumption, for reading books, for making notes. And my Mac was just a really powerful device, a really powerful video editing device, which used to lie in my backpack, and it would pretty much be open once a week just to be wiped down. It was not really used, and that's exactly why I decided to jump right in and dabble a bit more into the entire iPad workflow and try and experiment and see if I can actually edit videos using an iPad now that we had professional grade video editing software on the iPad. Before I became the editor that I am today, I was a mobile editor. Like the first maybe 30 or 50 videos on this channel were edited on an iPad Pro or on an iPhone using LumaFusion, and I learned how to edit. I got my basics of video editing while using mobile devices and using mobile video editing apps. And this is what got me really excited. The fact that I could have one device to rule them all, one device for content consumption, one device for content creation, one device for note-taking, one device for absolutely everything, and the fact that that device was a thin, gorgeous mini LED display with an M2 chip powering it, it made absolute sense to try and experiment to go iPad only. It's been an absolutely wild ride. I'm telling you, I gotta be honest, there was a little bit of adapting involved. I had to learn a couple of workarounds to make this work for myself, but the fact that I can now have an iPad as the only device I carry everywhere, and this experiment of going iPad only has pretty much changed my entire life. It has gone from being an experiment that I tried out last year to being pretty much the life that I lead right now. The iPad Pro is my main computer. A year later, a bunch of things have changed. I don't actually use DaVinci Resolve on the iPad. Instead, I'm using Final Cut Pro, which is another indication that Apple is actually taking this device seriously. Like Final Cut Pro on the iPad. Final Cut is Apple's bread and butter for professional video editing. Apple has just dropped that onto the iPad, and it's not the desktop version. It is a brand new version created specially for the iPad. Apple is actually taking the iPad a little bit more seriously. They've dropped Logic Pro for music producers as well. So we have Apple's professional apps now on the iPad. Pretty much works as an alternative to a computer. So yeah, I was one of the people who did not need a computer with me at all times because of the nature of my job, and here we are. As somebody who makes videos as his primary job when he's on land, the iPad has been super game-changing for me. One of the main reasons for that, I'm not gonna lie, is how gorgeous this device looks. This iPad is so good looking as a device that I literally gravitate towards it. And even when I had a Mac last year, if I had to choose between the two devices while I was kicking back at home or doing any kind of creative work, naturally my brain tend to push me towards the iPad. And that's basically because of how this device is so easy to use and how thin it is and how gorgeous it is. If you talk to any professional, one thing they're going to tell you is the best camera that you have is the one in your pocket. But another thing that they're going to tell you is a camera that attracts you, a camera that you will gravitate towards, a camera that you actually love the look and feel of is a camera that you're going to tend to pick up more and use a lot more. I think it's the same philosophy when you're looking at an iPad as well as a Mac. The device that you're attracted to more basically be the device that you tend to gravitate towards in any situation. Part of my creative workflow as somebody who makes videos on YouTube is basically finding my rhythm and finding my flow. Like, I need to get into a creative mindset, into a flow state, and that's when I can actually sit down and start thinking about the kind of content I'm going to produce. Like, the vibe of the video for me is more important. I think that's what gives rise to the way I shoot the video, the way I plan the video, the way I execute the video. The vibe is pretty much guided by the music that I use in all of my videos, and a major part of my creative workflow has always been getting onto the iPad and listening to a ton of music, throwing on a pair of really nice headphones, and all the music that I use on this channel, which I've been asked about a million times by a million people on Instagram, is from Epidemic Sound. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music platform. Link in description if you want 1 month free with Epidemic Sound, and you'll get a full free trial before you can actually go in and subscribe. Really good. So they basically give you royalty-free music. I have an app made for iOS as well as Android. The iOS app works on the iPad, browsing music for hours. I think this part of the process helps me get into a flow, helps me create a rhythm of what music I'm going to use for what shot. And you know how it is. Like, you get the sound, you know what will look good to this sound, and then you move on to the next stage of the video, which is actually scripting it and planning it once you have your baseline set up. So yeah, getting into this workflow is massive, and for me the iPad has been critical with this workflow. Yeah, you can do this on a MacBook as well, you can do this on a traditional computer as well, but the iPad is a content consumption device. It's played a major part in the construct of all the videos that you watch on this channel. The app allows you to download for offline use, so I have a folder on the iPad in the file manager which is labeled as Epidemic Sound. I segregate all the sound effects that I use in my videos as well as all the tracks that I use in my videos. They all are from Epidemic. When I'm out at sea and I don't have an internet connection, the iPad has all the music that I've downloaded. That's maybe more than 5 gigs of music just from Epidemic Sound that throw on to a timeline on Final Cut Pro and start editing, and it's just worked so well and it's kept me organized. Part of my workflow, like I said, is first I get into the zone by listening to music and I plan out the songs that I'm going to be using in my videos, and then I jump into the Notes app. And you guys know that I use the Notes app also to organize my life, because Apple Notes has literally changed the game for me as a person with respect to my productivity. So yeah, the Notes app is where I script all of my videos. But I think the Notes app as well as Epidemic Sound for me on the iPad, both of these hand in hand, that's basically what I talk about when I say get into a flow state, like get into a zone of creativity. These are the apps that I basically use, and this is how all these videos are actually planned before execution. Keep pushing on, keep rolling. And when I listen, but I told him. So creativity, the iPad is a complete all-in-one solution. Now, I know you don't want to be that guy or girl who pulls out his or her gigantic iPad at your friend's wedding and starts snapping photos, because that's just creepy. I'm not gonna lie, the cameras on this iPad are absolutely phenomenal. The M2 iPad Pros as well as the M1 iPad Pros have phenomenal cameras at the back of them. iPhone cameras typically, and they're very close to what the iPhone 12 or the iPhone 13 would give you in quality, which is really not bad. There are channels on YouTube today that I know of that are pretty much scripted, shot and edited completely on an iPad. They upload the videos using their iPad. If you're somebody who owns an iPad Pro in 2023, not having the tools at your disposal to start a YouTube channel or to get creative is not an excuse that you're going to be able to use, because this device is an all-in-one. And I do use these cameras in a pinch. To be completely honest, the selfie camera on the iPad Pro is an ultra-wide camera. It has center stage, which is really amazing, and that's something that the iPhone camera actually doesn't have. And you guys know I film majority of what I shoot on this channel on an iPhone. Alright, so I'm currently recording this on the iPad Pro. This is a quick demo of the ultra-wide front-facing lens, and it's super wide. It's actually so good for vlogging. Like, I don't know why Apple doesn't give you this kind of a focal length on the iPhone front-facing camera. The iPhone front-facing camera is a little too tight to vlog on. But yeah, this is what it sounds like. I do have my AirPods Max routing audio directly into the iPad right now, and I told you, if you have an iPad, definitely cannot go about saying that you don't have the cameras or the tools to be creative. You can use these.
I told him, one more time, your favorite MC's bonds are silver. Too bad these vibes here are golden.
Three apps that we absolutely need to talk about are Final Cut Pro, Canva, and Lightroom. These three apps put together are the trifecta of creativity that I use on my iPad to make sure that this channel looks as good as it does. And I've got a lot of compliments from you guys over the years regarding the image quality that I have and regarding how I edit my video. Everything's edited on an iPad at least for the last 1 year, and then everything else that I do, all the creative work that I do is done within these three apps. Final Cut Pro for the iPad, Canva, as well as Lightroom. So Canva is an app that pretty much blew up over the last 3 or 4 years. I started using it a while back. I started with the free version and I graduated to the pro version. Every thumbnail that you see on this channel has been edited on Canva. I normally take a photograph. The photograph goes into Lightroom, gets an edit, goes into Canva, and there's a bunch of templates that are available on Canva which you can use to make thumbnails for your channel. You can get the pro version. They also have Magic Studio, which is a brand new set of AI-based tools that is available on Canva. I haven't actually tried them out, but they look pretty promising. So yeah, Canva is phenomenal. I don't think I'm even scratching the surface with the amount of work that you can get done on Canva. That's definitely one of my main apps. Alright, you can't really be a video creator without having a video editing software of your choice. Now, I have used a few over the last few years, but Final Cut Pro is definitely my favorite out of them all. So I basically started editing videos on an iPhone or on an iPad. When I started this YouTube channel, I was using LumaFusion. LumaFusion was the closest thing that we had to Final Cut Pro that was available on iOS or iPadOS back in the day. I eventually graduated to Final Cut Pro on the Mac when I got a slightly more powerful Mac. We ended up getting DaVinci Resolve on the iPad, and I wanted to go mobile only because it's just easier to travel that way, like you guys already know. So I shifted to DaVinci Resolve, which was really, really good. The introduction of the M2 chip, and after DaVinci came out, Apple dropped Final Cut Pro onto the iPad. And guys, this is definitely not the same as what you have on desktop, but this is a full-blown version of Final Cut Pro. Like, it's a brand new version of Final Cut Pro that was actually tailor-made for mobile creators, actually tailor-made for content creators, and it's designed around being touch first so well. Like, the iPad has the M2 chip, and it definitely takes advantage of that M2 chip. If you're into mobile photography or photo editing or taking any kind of photos on any device, you've definitely heard of Lightroom. Lightroom is by Adobe, and it is one of the most professional photo editing apps out there. Now, you don't need Lightroom to get great results. I've used cheaper alternatives like Darkroom, Snapseed, Canva, Visco, and a lot of different apps in the past. But yeah, I have come back to Lightroom because I have invested in a bunch of presets. Yeah, Lightroom is my main photo editing app. It has been updated with new AI features. Now, Lightroom is definitely not Photoshop. You can't get as much out of it as you can out of Photoshop. For now, Lightroom is definitely an app that I'm using. It is great. The presets on it are fantastic, and a lot of your favorite creators do create their own presets for Lightroom, so definitely check it out. With the iPad specifically, if you have an Apple Pencil, the experience and the precision that you get while editing in Lightroom has been mind-blowing. So staying organized is one of the most important things for any person to be productive, in my opinion. And for me as a person, it's really, really important to all my documents, all my files, everything that I own in a really organized fashion. Otherwise, I find it really, really hard to work. I can't even work in a messy desk space. So yeah, the iPad has played a key role in keeping me organized. And there are a couple of apps that I've been using with the iPad that have pretty much pushed and helped me with this. And the apps are pretty simple, pretty basic, but they get the job done for me. So yeah, when it comes down to organization, I think the iPad has been a phenomenal tool. that help me stay organized are basically Apple Calendars, Reminders, as well as Notes. These three apps are the stock apps that Apple provides us with. As simple as they are, they're super effective, and as long as you put them to right use, you can get a lot out of these apps, and they can pretty much streamline your entire workflow, in fact your entire life. The iPad, in my opinion, has helped me organize my entire life. iPad is the central device that helps run my entire YouTube channel. Now I gotta admit, Apple Calendars isn't as robust as Google Calendars. It's super simple compared to Google Calendars, but it does what I need it to do and it works for me. The interface is super simple and it syncs across all my devices. I have everything that I mark on my iPad, on my iPhone almost instantly. Super simple, super easy. If I have any meetings that I have to take, that also comes down here, and any maritime related work that is due, any documentation work that is due to submit or due to be collected also goes through Apple Calendar. You can use any calendar of your liking, but you definitely got to get yourself a calendar and get in tune with all your workflows. Second most used app when it comes to organizing my life on the iPad is Apple Notes. It is one of the cleanest, one of the most simplest user interfaces when it comes to a note-taking app. It works really well with the Apple Pencil as well as the Magic Keyboard. It also integrates across iCloud with all my devices just like Apple Calendars does. So yeah, Notes is really powerful if you use it well. The key to making use of any Notes app, in my opinion, is basically keeping your Notes app and folders organized, keeping them structured. And I've basically got a whole process of my own that I follow on Apple Notes that syncs across all my devices that works like a charm for absolutely everything that I gotta do. So just start dabbling with is Apple Reminders. You can use any reminder app, like I said. You don't have to be tied into the stock apps that Apple provides you, but I've started using it because of how useful it is with respect to iCloud Sync. And I can also use my HomePod at home when I'm walking around and I realize I need to be reminded of something. I can just tell Siri to add it into reminders. It'll go into the list that I want it to go. There's a ton of features and there's a ton of organization. There are also a lot of lists that you can make within reminders. Favorite app for organization is the file manager on the iPad. Now this is my version of Finder or my version of my computer if you're a PC user. This is the arsenal for all the work that I do. Storing my documents, to organizing my documents in separate folders, to keeping all my music and video assets for my YouTube channel, to keeping my animations and graphics and my different coloring LUTs, to keeping everything that I do in my life digitally in one place. That's the main job of the file manager. The file manager is basically the glue to everything that I do in the digital world. Is definitely not as robust as Finder or my computer on Windows, but to be completely honest, it works on the iPad and it works on the iPhone, and it is getting better with every iteration of iPadOS, which is something that I'm excited about. So yeah, hopefully this is going to get better from here, but for what it is right now, it still works, it still gets the job done. Yeah, it works for me. Both of these apps put together are what helped me use the iPad as my main computer. And I think it's really important for no matter who you are, no matter what device you choose to work from, for you to find your productivity app, for you to find a productivity system within any device that you use, so that you can be super efficient with absolutely anything that you gotta do using any device that you use. Once you all out and you find what works for you, it's complete fire. Alright, this is the part where most of y'all get super excited because 99% of you people actually out there go out to buy an iPad simply because you want an amazing content consumption device. A lot of you want to use it as a home hub, as a Netflix streaming device, even as just a standalone music player.
This device actually does it all.
Definitely one of the main reasons why I use an iPad as well. As a sailor, as somebody who needs a high quality, gigantic, immersive screen in his cabin while he's lying in bed at the end of the day, the iPad has worked out beautifully well for me. Another major reason to use the iPad, it's been actually amazing for me, has been with respect to content consumption, yes, but it's also been great for reading. I have the Kindle app on my iPad. Having the iPad for me has been great on that front, where I don't need to carry the Kindle everywhere I go. I do have a large screen which is super immersive to read absolutely any book. I've spent the last 1 month studying for my master's exams, my captain's exam. So a lot of the notes that you have nowadays are in digital format. The iPad for me was my study hub. Like, I pretty much studied on this every day. I use the Apple Pencil to make notes. I use the Apple Pencil to mark up documents, and overall worked out really, really well for me. So yeah, if you're somebody who's a student, or if you're somebody who's doing any kind of professional reading or note taking, if you're somebody who just has a lot of PDFs to work with, the iPad is phenomenal, and the Apple Pencil is definitely a must if you want to do any kind of marking up. It just makes everything so much more convenient. Respect to well-being and entertainment, and just using it for personal stuff on the go, the iPad is a great device. There's a lot of people out there who prefer tablets to traditional laptops for content consumption. A lot more immersive than a standalone laptop, and in a majority of cases you need a table when you're using a laptop to watch any kind of content. But with an iPad, it's light enough for you to lie down with, to hold it in one hand, to read off of, to flip pages while you're reading ebooks with the other hand, and they come with a large amount of storage nowadays, so that's also a benefit. The iPad is a great screen, and this is something that we all already know and we all already accept. Like, no matter who you are, you have to agree the screens, the mini LED displays are gorgeous. There are a couple of accessories, and I'm not gonna lie, super expensive accessories that I have invested in to make the iPad work for all of my needs. I'm not gonna lie, these accessories are crazy expensive, but that's something I already knew. Honestly, I'm somebody who came into this entire iPad experiment knowing two things, which is something that I think you guys also got to keep in mind. Firstly, this is as expensive as a Mac. This is not cheap. Going iPad only is not going to help you save any costs. I also knew that I needed to find the right accessories to make sure that I could speed up my workflow with this device in any situation. And the accessories are what will make this device extremely versatile and extremely useful for me in all different situations around. It's super easy to use a touch-based interface for most things that you would do on an iPad. Certain applications like Microsoft Office, spreadsheets, the Google Office suite, any of these professional working apps will definitely benefit from a keyboard and a trackpad, because that's how they were originally designed. Definitely want to look at getting a keyboard if you're going to do any serious work on the iPad. So, but naturally the keyboard that I'm using is the Magic Keyboard, which is made by Apple themselves, and I have to admit, while this is crazy expensive, I am absolutely in love with it, and if I had to do it all over again, I would definitely get the exact same keyboard. The typing experience is phenomenal. I love how gorgeous it looks and how the iPad just floats on it. Like, I've still not gotten over how good the iPad looks on the keyboard, and overall it's a really well built, sturdy keyboard. It has a really nice finish to it, and I'm super happy with it. Accessory is the Apple Pencil 2, which is so much fun to have, but I'm not gonna hype this up for you guys. The Apple Pencil is definitely not something that everybody who buys an iPad needs. Like, it's great to have one, and it's really, really cool. It's really fun to mess around with it, but not everyone needs it. If you're a student of any kind, or you're any kind of digital artist, anyone who does any creative work on their iPad, such as photo editing, video editing, the Apple Pencil is hella good. It is so powerful. It gives you so much precision. In such situations, I definitely have to push you guys to go out and get yourselves one, because the Apple Pencil for any kind of creative work on the iPad is a must. If you're somebody who's just a casual user, yeah, I'm telling you, you can definitely skip this one. The last accessory that I think absolutely everybody needs with their iPad is a portable SSD. A bunch of portable SSDs that I use with my iPad. Now, iPad storage is extremely expensive, and that's exactly why I invested in a bunch of SSDs. I have, I think, 4 in total. These basically help keep my workflow really, really streamlined on the iPad. They also help me back up all the data that I need, and they also don't push me to buy all the storage that Apple offers at the expensive prices that they actually offer. One SSD, which is basically used for my photography backups, like an archive of all the memories of my life. I got one where I put my current projects that I'm actually working on and try to edit off of that. I got one which is basically for my maritime related work, like all the documents. And I got one which is purely for entertainment, because you guys know when I'm on a ship, I don't have Netflix, we don't have internet. So we download a bunch of movies and TV shows offline and just take them on board with us. So yeah, that works really, really well. I think SSDs are key to unleashing the storage side of the iPad. I would not suggest that you go and buy over 1 terabyte of storage when you're buying an iPad, because the price really goes over the top and it's definitely not worth it. These SSDs are super small, they're really rugged, and they're super fast storage, which is pretty much the same as what you have on the insides of your iPad. So they will do you wonders. Alright, so before I let you go, I have to say that I'm definitely not somebody who's telling you to go out there, up an iPad and sell your MacBook or sell your PC or sell whatever device that you're using at the moment. That is definitely not the case, and that's definitely not why I actually even made this video. All I'm trying to tell you is that this device has got a lot of hate over the last 1 year, and a lot of people enjoy talking trash about devices on the market because it doesn't fit into their workflow. So the entire point was to make sure you guys understand that this device for me has been absolutely game-changing when it comes to productivity as well as creativity. With this little device, I have managed to get a tablet that is absolutely drop-dead gorgeous and amazing to use. I've managed to get a computer alternative. I've managed to get an e-reader alternative, a portable gaming console, all in one, which can basically transform basis the needs that I have for computing and my everyday life. The fact that I can just pop off this gorgeous screen and go into tablet mode, for me, is almost magical. Yeah, there's a lot of 2-in-1s on the market that you can do this with, but for me, the iPad does it the best, and it's worked the best for me. It feels the best, and it also feels the most premium out of all the 2-in-1s that you can actually get on the markets. That's the point of this video. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's about what works for you, what workflow is good for you, what device fits into your workflow, and what device you're happy with. For me, the iPad experiment led to the iPad experience, which today has led to the iPad lifestyle that I'm absolutely loving. I really enjoy the support I get from you guys on this channel. I really love talking to you guys about all that I'm using, all the products that I use on a daily basis, and I absolutely loved making this video. It is definitely one of the longer videos I've made on the channel when it comes down to tech. So if you do like it, definitely give it a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends, and I can't wait to come back and make more amazing tech lifestyle based content on the channel for you guys. Life at Sea's new season is also up on the channel at this given point in time, so definitely go check it out. A lot of fun videos there. Thank you for everything, and I love you guys. See you in the next one.